Apartarkyat, beyond the power of reasoning. Anirdeshyat, beyond the power of thinking. Iti, thus. Keshu, someone. Api, also. Nischaya, definitely concluded. Atra, herein. Anurupam, of which them is right. Rajarshe, O sage among the kings. Vimarsha, judge yourself. Swa, by your own. Manishaya, power of intelligence. Translation, there are also some thinkers who believe that no one can ascertain the cause of distress by argumentation, nor know it by imagination, nor express it by words. O sage among kings, judge for yourself by thinking over all this with your own intelligence. Purport, the Vaishnavas, the devotees of the Lord, do believe, as above explained, that nothing can take place without the sanction of the Supreme Lord. He is the Supreme Director, for he confirms in the Bhagavad Gita that he, as all-pervading Paramatma, stays in everyone's heart and keeps vigilance over all actions and witnesses all activities. The argument of the atheist that one cannot be punished for one's misdeeds unless proved before a qualified justice is refuted herein, for we accept the perpetual witness and constant companion of the living being. A living being may forget all that he might have done in his past or present life, but one must know that in the same tree of the material body, the individual soul and the Supreme Soul, the Paramatma, are sitting like two birds. One of them, the living being, is enjoying the fruits of the tree, whereas the Supreme Being is there to witness the activities. Therefore, the Paramatma feature, the Supreme Soul, is actually the witness of all activities of the living being, and only by his direction can the living being remember or forget what he might have done in the past. He is therefore both the all-pervading impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma in everyone's heart. He is the knower of all past, present, and future, and nothing can be concealed from him. The devotees know this truth, and therefore they discharge their duties sincerely without being overly anxious for rewards. Besides that, one cannot estimate the Lord's reactions either by speculation or by scholarship. Why does he put some into difficulty and not others? He is the supreme knower of the Vedic knowledge, and thus he is the factual Vedantist. At the same time, he is the compiler of the Vedanta. No one is independent of him, and everyone is engaged in his service in different ways. In the conditioned state, such services are rendered by the living being under the force of the material nature, whereas in the liberated state, the living being is helped by the spiritual nature in the voluntary loving service of the Lord. There is no incongruity or liberty in his actions. All are on the path of the absolute truth. Bhismadev correctly estimated the inconceivable actions of the Lord. The conclusion is therefore that the sufferings of the representative of religion and the representative of the earth, as present before Maharaj Parikshit, were planned to prove that Maharaj Parikshit was the ideal executive head, because he knew well how to give protection to the cows, the earth, and the brahmanas, religious principles, the two pillars of spiritual advancement. Everyone is under the full control of the Lord. He is quite correct in his action when he desires something to be done by someone, irrespective of the consideration of the particular case. Maharaj Parikshit was thus put to test for his greatness. Now let us see how he resolves it by his sagacious mind. Translation: there are also some thinkers who believe that no one can ascertain the cause of distress by argumentation, nor know it by imagination, nor express it by words. O sage among kings, judge for yourself by thinking over all this with your own intelligence. So these are a whole series of verses to inquire or to answer about what is the cause of the suffering of the cow and the bull, or the suffering of people in general. And it is definitely a subject of debate among everybody in the world. It has been a subject of debate from time immemorial. And even in the present day, the same question arises: why do we suffer? And of course we could say, well, that's just material nature, and everything happens by chance, so we don't have to explain it at all. It's just like that. Accidents, all accidental. And the other is to try to find a cause, a real cause, that's happening for some particular reason. And when we do that, then we get into a lot of problems, because one cause is, let us have a God, and if the God is doing it, then he's a cruel God because he's making us suffer and he's enjoying the suffering, or something like that. So this is one problem with religion in general, to explain the cause of suffering in the world without contaminating God in the process. So the opposite is to just reject the whole idea of God completely and say, okay, let's not believe in God, because it becomes meaningless. God is powerless to do anything. So then we end up with all sorts of other speculative philosophies like atheism and let's enjoy as much as we can in the material world. That's Charvaka's idea. And we have various other propositions. So in any case, we're stuck with the suffering in the world, and even if we can't get an answer why, nobody likes it. So there has to be a solution to the suffering somehow or other. And this, of course, if we don't want to believe in anything and we just want to get rid of the suffering, this also becomes a problem. Because if we don't know the cause, we can't get rid of the suffering. So we do have to know what the cause is. According to this whole presentation here about the cow and the bull, etc., suffering for humanity is caused by humanity. We find the Kali Yuga personified as attacking the bull, and the cow is in sorrow because of that, and therefore the earth doesn't give anything, and thus the people suffer. So when human beings don't follow the rules of Dharma, then we suffer. So that's the basic principle. If we want to analyze that, then we can ultimately say it's karma. Fortunately, a lot of the atheistic philosophies in India, the Saddarshanas, they will all at least accept the law of karma. So like Sankhya or Nyaya, they accept at least the law of karma. And there's a soul, and there's a body, and we go from life to life. They may not believe in God or whatever. At least they believe that the human being is responsible for his actions, that much. So something is positive there in their atheistic philosophies. And even in Karma Mimamsa, which is also atheistic, with the attempt to go to heavenly planets by doing sacrifices, they also understand, yes, you go from body to body, and you can end up with a body in heavenly planets. So they also believe by doing punya as you get better life. So at least they believe that to some extent the law of karma and how it acts. So if we do that, at least we get some cause. And we don't have to bring the Supreme Lord into it to blame him. We can say that the cause of the suffering is the jiva and his activities. And if the jiva wants to get rid of his suffering, he has to change the type of activities he does. So the bull is there in the form of dharma to say what we have to do. We have to follow these certain rules. Do this, don't do that. Do this, don't do that. So this helps us choose properly. Because the jiva has free will, he can choose to accept those laws or not to accept those laws as an individual or as a group. So those people who, as a group, who accepted those laws, those were called the Aryans. So they accepted the whole system of dharma and varnashram. And therefore they could prosper because of that. Other societies and countries may not accept those laws. So therefore they're a little bit in a risky situation because they don't have the scientific system for at least regulating the human life according to the laws of karma. Nevertheless, they try to make some arrangement, and thus we'll find that around the world some of the laws correspond to the rules we have in the varnashram system, like no killing, etc. But as I mentioned previously, these rules may agree to some extent, but also not completely. So no killing human beings is there in all societies, except under certain circumstances like war. But then it doesn't include killing the animals in most countries. But one of the basic rules in the Shastras of India is don't kill any living entity. That's the main principle. So, of course, we do have to kill for survival, but then we have gradation of what violence is permitted and what isn't permitted. So the rules, of course, are based on the fact that we get results ourselves in terms of karma for the activities we do. We do violent acts, not approved by Scripture. We get suffering in our life. So that's the simple explanation of why are we suffering? Because of karma, because of sinful acts, because of not following the principles of dharma. So that's the solution. And I guess most of these saddarshanas in India will at least accept that much. In that sense, they're okay. An advancement over, no rules at all. Therefore, the cause of all of this is ultimately the human being. However, we have to also investigate further, well, why do we have that law of karma? Why is it there? And of course, we say it's just there. It's just like that. That's the material nature. The other is, of course, we want a cause, and then we say, okay, God is the cause. There's something higher than the maker of the law of karma. It's God. So therefore, we get some theistic impersonal philosophies like Nyaya. They say there is a God up there also. Sankhya says no God, so it's only jivas and prakriti, and that's it. But some philosophies, yes, there is a God of some sorts. However, even that so-called God does not function properly as the maker of the law of karma, because it is very difficult to get out of the law of karma. And here we see Prabhupada explains about the Paramatma. He is the witness. So he sees all of your sinful activities. He also sees your suffering. So if there is a God, then why isn't he doing anything? Why isn't he relieving our suffering? That's the immediate question. The answer, of course, is that the jivas have to accept their karma. They have to accept the responsibility for what they do. Therefore, the Lord does not interfere. Just like the law operates in the country, and the president of the country doesn't interfere with what the court says. The court says, okay, he's guilty, he has to get punished. Okay, he doesn't say, no, I don't agree with that, and he doesn't interfere. So the Supreme Lord doesn't interfere with what the law of karma says, which is ultimately under Yamaraj. So, in that sense, the Paramatma is neutral in that case. Nevertheless, he is the ultimate maker of the law. Still, we will say, well, still the Lord has to have a little compassion somewhere. He can't just be completely neutral, make a law like that, and just expect everyone to follow the law. And the answer is yes. He also has another form called Bhagavan, who's not neutral. So, of course, Krishna says, I'm equal to everyone, but still, I prefer my devotee. I love my devotees. I favor my devotees. So there is an aspect of the Lord who's not completely neutral. And that is how we can escape from the law of karma. If we're just depending on Paramatma, no, he's just witnessing and letting your thing go. And to some degree, if we realize how the karma law is operating, then we will agree to follow the Varnashram system, the rules of Dharma. Then we'll modify our activities, then we'll do more pious activities, and we'll suffer less. So that much we do on our own. And that's what Paramatma is trying to teach us, to be responsible for our activities. But the more intelligent person says, well, I want to get out of this whole system. There must be a better system beyond all of this law of karma completely. And this is what the Bhagavan offers. Get out of the whole system. Get out of this entanglement of going birth after birth in the material world and get eternal happiness with no suffering at all. So, the Lord is not just neutral as Paramatma enforcing the law of karma, like the head of state. He also has his merciful aspect by which he is able to deliver the jivas out of the material world in spite of all their endless, beginningless karmas. So that is why we have the Lord in different features, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, because he functions differently in different cases. So for people in general, he is neutral. Let them follow the law of karma. Let them practice Varnashram system. But the Lord also makes the system. And then we have his position as Bhagavan. If you really want to get out of this whole system of karma and whatever, yes, I can help you. I can get you out. But it requires a particular method also. So that method is bhakti. The Lord is attracted to the devotee. He's not attracted to the follower of Varnashram and the followers of the law of karma, etc. He's attracted to the devotee. So if we practice bhakti, then Bhagavan responds, and we destroy all the karma, we get out of the material world, we end up with a perpetual, eternal body, experiencing bliss in relation to the Supreme Lord. So the Lord is not indifferent ultimately. He is very compassionate, but it's according to the jiva's qualification. When the jiva accepts the Lord at that point, then the Lord becomes compassionate. And as long as the jiva refuses the Lord does not interfere. He lets the law of karma operate, and Paramatma simply witnesses everything. So the Lord functions in both ways, as the supreme neutral observer, and then finally as the Supreme Lord. But as Supreme Lord Bhagavan, he only interferes or goes beyond the system when he sees that the jiva develops faith in Supreme Lord. So that is the ultimate solution, and therefore the production of faith and the cultivation of bhakti are the most important element for the jiva, ultimately. But, as I said, faith has to develop. Then that process works. As long as it doesn't, then the Lord supplies the other process, that is karma yoga, varnashram, etc., for the people in general. And they can go on with their activities within that system and gradually purify themselves. Purification means to rise within the gunas. And instead of a dominance of tamagun and rajagun, we get a dominance of sattvagun. That's what purification means. It doesn't mean complete purification. So the varnashram system doesn't completely purify you. It can raise you up to sattva. Unfortunately, that varnashram system is slow. We know that people have difficulty in changing in this lifetime, even consciously doing things. Very difficult for people to change their habits. It's difficult for the criminal to change and become a proper citizen. It is difficult for people to give up their bad habits and intoxication, smoking and drinking and whatever they're doing. It's very difficult for people to give up anything in one lifetime and change the course of their life. It is possible, but a little difficult for most people. They have to really strive to do that. So if the people do strive, of course, they can change a little bit. In general, it takes a long time to change. So the system has to be preserved with all the dharma and the ashrams and the varnas and the laws, etc., over many lifetimes, so that you can fit in there someplace and gradually develop birth after birth. So change is very gradual. So therefore, you require to be born into the system again and again and again for many lifetimes, and gradually rise up from tamagun to rajagun, and then finally you get to sattvagun. Maybe it takes 20 births or 30 births or whatever, which means a few hundred years. That's the drawback. We could say it's a slow system of purification. And once you get to sattva and you become Brahminical, which is represented here by the bull, Dharma. The Brahman is the aspect of, say, Dharma. He institutes Dharma for the kings. He advises the kings to institute the Dharma. So the Brahmins represent the knowledge of Dharma. But to get to that stage takes a long, long time. So that's the main difficulty there. But as long as people don't have faith, then they have to follow the system. If they don't follow the system and they choose otherwise, they may advance, but it's very haphazard. And that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says this is a scientific system, the Varnashram system. The other system is very haphazard. The rules of violence and whatever, not well defined. The rules, the understanding of karma is not there. So therefore it's a very, very limited type of systems that we have in place in secular societies. The advantage here is that in Varnashram is everything is understood from a broader perspective, using the law of karma, etc., and instituting the rules that the Supreme Lord Himself has instituted. So we have some absolute standards of good and bad and just and unjust, etc. So the system is better than no system. At the same time, it is a slow system for the people in the lower rungs. So this is how the system operates. But Bhagavan is very merciful. So he likes to speed up the whole process. So therefore, bhakti does not depend upon the Varnashram system. It operates independently. Which means that Shraddha operates independently of Varnashram. And therefore it can appear outside the Varnashram system also. And then bhakti can be performed outside the Varnashram system as well as inside. So this is we say the quick system. Bhagavan makes everything quick. So if you get the mercy of the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan, you develop faith, you do bhakti, then you quickly advance beyond everything in the material world. And you don't have to rise up through the gunas and come to sattva gun, etc. So this is the preferable system in Kali Yuga. Sarva dharman parijaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Just surrender to me and give up all of their dharmas. So prominence is given to the process of bhakti and surrender based on faith. So that is the solution to all of the problems and the suffering, etc., in the material world. As I said, the Varnashram system is a slow system and a partial system of improving your karmas and purifying you to sattva gun, where you have minimum of bad karmas and maximum of good karmas. But you're still stuck in the material world. Bhakti gets you out of the whole system completely, eternally, and it's quicker. And it doesn't depend on elevating yourself slowly through the gunas, life after life. So the crucial factor, of course, is where is the Lord going to show His mercy? Who gets the faith? The person gets the faith who gets the fortune of mercy of devotees in general. Of course, the Lord can do it, but in general, it's when the Lord's not present on earth as avatar, which is normal case. it comes once or twice every yuga cycle, then it depends on the mercy of the devotee. And with the mercy of the devotee, you get the faith, and then you can develop. So that is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has emphasized the preaching movement. Somehow or other, we have to instill faith in people. Once they got the faith, then we go further and we introduce them to the process of bhakti. So the preacher acts in two ways. To cultivate faith, and then after, because before that you can't preach to the faithless persons, so you have to inculcate faith first, somehow or other, without preaching. And then, once there is faith, then you can do the direct preaching. So these are the two activities of the Vaishnava for the jivas in the material world. So one is to create agata sukriti opportunities for people, population at large, who have no faith. The other is people that do have faith, then we cultivate them, and we encourage them to follow the process of bhakti yoga. And the main process in both of these, both in the agata sukriti and in the process of bhakti, is Hare Nam Sankirtan, chanting the holy name. That's the basis of both things. So coincidentally, that's also the Yuga Dharma, and that's also the teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, furthermore, as the Yuga avatar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very special because he's not the usual Yuga avatar. Rupa Goswami explains that usually the Yuga avatars are expansions from the Manvantara avatara, who lasts for 71 Yuga cycles. In our case, it is Vamanadev. So he expands into the Yuga avatars within his 71 Yuga cycles. Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali. He expands into these other forms for meditation and sacrifices and deity worship, and then Nam Sankirtan. 71 times he expands himself. That's the usual thing. And in Kali Yuga, he's a Shaktavesh avatar, because the Lord should not appear in Kali Yuga, he's true Yuga. So he appears a Shaktavesh avatar, a Jiva. So that's the usual Kali Yuga avatar who preaches Kirtan. It's a Shaktavesh avatar. When Krishna comes, after Krishna comes, who's also not a regular, he's not an expansion of Vamana, rather Vamana is an expansion of Krishna. When Krishna comes, he's exceptional case in the 28th Yuga cycle of Vaivasvata Manvantara. And then in Kali Yuga after that, Lord Chaitanya is also exceptional case. He is none other than Krishna himself. So he's not an expansion from the Manvantara avatar Vamanadev, nor is he a Shaktavesh avatar. He is directly Krishna. So in our particular Kali Yuga, we get the advantage of not just Yuga avatar, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Swayam Bhagavan Krishna himself. So there's a very special advantage that we get. So he is the one that propagates Sankirtan, and because he is non-different from Krishna, he's very, very powerful, but actually he's more powerful in one sense. So Krishna, he can be described as his state, his essence can be described as everything is sweet about him, very intimate and juicy. Lord Chaitanya is non-different from Krishna, but we don't call him sweet, we call him Audarja, which means very merciful. So his intention is not just sweetness, but to deliver all of the fallen souls, even the aparadis of Kali Yuga. So that's his main mood. So because of that, therefore, there is a certain Shakti from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that spreads throughout Kali Yuga to enable the jivas to advance in devotional service. So he's not the ordinary Yuga avatar, he's a very special one, non-different from Krishna, but with that special addition of mercy or compassion. And therefore he even is merciful to the aparadis, which normally doesn't take place. So even the aparadis get delivered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Nam Sankirtan. So therefore we have the method of Nam Sankirtan, but we also have the extra Shakti of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that Nam Sankirtan to deliver the people of Kali Yuga. So this is a very, very special means of deliverance in Kali Yuga, and we cannot underestimate its power to deliver the people. So if we follow Lord Chaitanya's instructions and our acharyas like Srila Prabhupada, then we can change this whole society. This is the means that we've been given in our sampradaya. Okay, any questions?
So Maharaj, in the legal system you have the term double jeopardy, which means that you can't be punished twice for one crime.
Yeah.
So if someone commits a crime, they're punished by the legal system, but at the end of their life is Yamaraj lining up to have a second go at him?
Well, generally, no. It's described that if the state punishes you for the crime, if you kill a person, then you get executed. You don't get another punishment after that. But I think in double jeopardy, maybe the first punishment was not the good punishment. It was not enough or something. They still can't take you a second time and try you a second time, I think. Isn't it? Yeah. Once they've tried it once, they can't try you again for the same crime, in spite of the fact they gather new evidence. But that doesn't work for Yamaraj. If you're found, they try you here and you get a little thing, but actually it was a grave crime, then you're going to get the rest of it from Yamaraj, definitely. Yeah, so you get what you deserve, not what you tricked your way out of.
Also, you're mentioning the 28 Yuga cycle, Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna appears.
Yeah.
So every time Krishna himself appears, he's followed by Lord Chaitanya.
Yeah, which is once in a day of Brahma. Yeah.
So in a day of Brahma, is it about 500 manus, I think?
No, there's 14 manus.
14 manus.
Yeah. And 1,000 yuga cycles. So 71 yuga cycles approximately each Manvantara period, times 14, to each 1,000.
So the 28 yuga cycles happens to be Vaishvasvati Manu.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's the one he comes in every day, which is at noontime approximately.
So every day from Brahma is the same Manu, basically, the 28 cycle.
What's that?
The 28
It's, yes, the same one. That's most for all the avatars also. They appear when they're supposed to appear in a certain period. Some appear in Svayambhuva Manvantara, some in, like Nrsimhadev appears in the 6th one, Chakshusha Manvantara period. He appears there all the time, so they're more or less fixed. But some of them appear several times. Like Vamana appears 3 times. And who else appears? Matsya appears 14 times. Varaha appears twice. Like that. So some appear twice also.
And they're all expansions of Ananda.
No. Those are Leela avatars. The Yuga avatars, Satya, who teaches meditation, and then in Treta Yuga, sacrifices, and Dwarpa Yuga, deity worship, and then Kali Yuga, Sankirtan. These are always appearing in all the Yuga cycles. Not just once in Chakshusha Manvantara, etc. So, the Yuga avatars are expansions from the Manvantara avatar. So in each 71 Yuga cycle, there's a presiding deity.
Yeah.
In Swayambhuva Manvantara, it was Yagya. In our particular Vaivasvata Manvantara period, it is Vamanadev.
I thought you said that all those avatars, Yuga avatars, were expansions in those manus from Vama.
Yeah, for Vaivasvata Manvantara, for him. But for Swayambhuva Manvantara, the Yuga avatars would be expansions from Yagya, who is the presiding avatar in that period. So there's like 14 different avatars that appear along with the Manus, and then they expand into the avatars, the Yuga avatars.
Just on that point about the Yuga avatars expanding from Manvantara avatar, is that from the Bhagavatam?
Yeah.
The other question I wanted to ask was in relation to what my uncle was talking about just then, and responding to him about each you disciples, 14 Manus.
Yeah.
And the Manus have the same names.
Each day.
But
Yeah. Different jivas. Different jivas.
Every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Because the name refers to the post, not
The post, yeah, yeah. Like Indra is a name, a post, not a and each Manvantara, Indra keeps changing. 14 times in one day of Brahma. What's that?
His name now is his actual personal name is Saroja.
Oh, I'm not aware of something. Anyway, it keeps changing. It mentions that, I think, in the 8th canto, that so-and-so will become the Indra of this period, and so-and-so will be the great sage, and so-and-so will be this and that. Yeah.
Is Taraka Nam mantra or something like that?
Taraka now means, is that referring to Hare Krishna? Or
In this age, and I was trying to understand how those mantras came about in each age.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, they have different mantras, like in Satyuga, maybe it's Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya or something. Yeah, I think Bhaktivinoda Thakur mentions that someplace, different names. And in Kali Yuga, it's Nam, which is not even mantra, it's just Nam, which is just calling out Krishna, which is more powerful, actually.
As we're talking about bhakti has the mercy that's given through the mercy of the devotees,
Yeah.
and then going through the madhyana, the carries distribution.
Yeah.
So is that a mechanical or simple thing as the devotee desiring to give you bhakti, then you have bhakti, or is there? And then is that bhakti nurtured by the individual, that or they have to keep receiving mercy to keep the bhakti alive?
You're talking about mercy, where how it works? Is it mechanical?
Bhakti can't be obtained through any karmic activity. It has to be received.
Yeah.
How is it received and how is it obtained?
Yeah. So devotees have bhakti. Non-devotees don't have bhakti. So that faith itself, which is the beginning of bhakti, or the favorable field for bhakti, is not created by karma. That faith, that inclination of the jiva to at least trust that there is a Supreme Lord, etc., that inclination of the jiva results from accidental bhakti. In other words, some devotee does something and then that person accidentally sees Jagannath, or he takes prasadam, or he hears the holy name. But it's from a devotee, not from a karmi. If it's from a karmi, it doesn't work. So a devotee has to chant the name, a devotee has to decorate Jagannath, a devotee has to make some offering and give it to Krishna and distribute to people. So that's how then the person eats it or sees Jagannath accidentally or whatever. And that influences the jiva a little bit. And after many, many accidental things like that caused by devotees, then faith appears. Faith means that the Atma has a trust in the existence of the Lord, and he's willing to, and then he'll become curious to accept information. Okay, who's the Supreme Lord, whatever like that. So in other words, he has trust in the bhakti scriptures. So when he gets to, as you say, if that becomes the faith becomes conscious at that stage, and he seeks out, then it's not accidental anymore. So if he gets a book on the street and he opens it up, he says, this is nice, that means he has faith. He doesn't question, why it's like this, why it's like that. He simply accepts a statement, okay, Krishna says, surrender everything to me, then Krishna has a form, fine, then he accepts it, that means faith. So then that also comes from devotees, obviously. So faith is caused by accidental bhakti, caused by devotees. Once he gets the faith, then he has to approach devotees again, and then he gets information from scriptures, etc., and he gets guidance. So that's caused by devotees. So once the faith is there, then we get the seed of bhakti planted through the devotees. And then he has to do something on his own after that point. He has to follow the process. Once he follows the process, again, we have sadhusanga. So again, so there's mercy all the way along the line, from before he becomes a devotee to the faith aspect, to becoming a devotee himself, and then through his devotional career, there's always a sadhusanga taking place up into prema.
The Shraddha is a symptom of bhakti.
Well, it's not a symptom of bhakti, it's, we can say, the qualification for bhakti. A trust in the Supreme Lord. And then by bhakti we mean engagement of the senses and devotional service. So based on that I accept the Supreme Lord, I'm the servant of the Lord, then we'll hear and chant and do whatever, trying to please the Lord. If we don't have that faith, then it will be, it won't be bhakti actually. It'll be the activity of bhakti with no faith, then it doesn't mean bhakti at all. It means imitation only.
when you mentioned that Lord Chaitanya has a special Shakti in this age of Kali Yuga, how does that manifest? Is that while he's actually here on this planet, or does it it kind of indicated that Kali Yuga is suffused with his mercy? Is that right?
Yeah, because he's the Yuga avatar, and therefore he introduces the process for Kali Yuga. So his process itself absorbs his Shakti also. That is Nam Sankirtan. So our Nam Sankirtan is a little different from all the other 999 versions of Kirtan in Kali Yuga, because they don't have Lord Chaitanya. So Lord Chaitanya, of course, has the mood of Radha, and we approach Krishna through Radha. So he's Krishna, but he's also got Radha's mercy in him. So that spreads to the holy name also.
You were saying how once Krishna accepts you, then he becomes compassionate. So it just so happens though that sometimes devotees have really intense, once they've become a devotee and surrender, they have really intense lives. I can think of quite a few. I can think of one particular god sister of ours who went through the rape, suicide and murder in her own family. This is after being a devotee. So when those situations arise, do you attribute that to Krishna kind of giving that person, how it says when I have special mercy for someone, I take it away. Is that their situation? Because normally you kind of expect that once you're under Krishna's shelter...
Yeah, you're blessed. It could be. It's very difficult to understand. That's why Bismuth Dave also says, we don't understand how the Lord is acting, because all throughout this whole thing, Bismuth was on the wrong side. And then he had to fight in the battle against Krishna and the Pandavas, which he didn't want to do. So he said that the actions of the Lord are inconceivable. We can't figure out what they are. Even the devotees, even the Siddha devotees can't understand something. They get very surprised by it. Of course, we could say they're a little covered over by Yoga Maya to do that. But it's often inconceivable how the Lord acts. So that ultimately, we can't explain all the actions that are taking place within devotional service according to logic. So we do have to leave a little bit up to this. Somehow it's Krishna. We don't know. We can't really explain it. If we progress to a certain level, then we will understand why it was like that. But at our stage, we can't really figure it out with our mind, as it says here. It's a tarkya in the verse, upper tarkyat. It's inconceivable. Where does the suffering come from? How to explain it? In one sense, that's true. You can't really ultimately understand it. But certainly there is a plan of Krishna behind it. Paramatma's there, and then Bhagavan's behind it. So maybe either we're operating. Maybe the law of karma is still operating for some people. Other times it may be Supreme Lord himself making a special arrangement for the jiva. As Prabhupada says, when all of his wealth got stolen or something, okay, I accept this is mercy of Supreme Lord, and this to make me more attached to the Lord.
I was wondering, when we are suffering, we may not directly blame Krishna, but sometimes how do we get out of that tendency to blame the immediate cause of our suffering? Even if we don't, then we need to still externally deal with the external cause of our suffering. If someone's doing something.
Yeah. Well, that's also explained in the Bhagavatam, where it says that the devotee, he experiences all sorts of suffering in this lifetime, but he says this is swakritam, or self-produced. So in other words, he says, well, this is my karma. I have done something to cause this suffering on myself, so I don't blame the Lord. Meanwhile, he continues with his devotional activities without a loss of faith, without no doubts. And if he can do that, then he's said to be the claimant of the Lord's mercy. The Lord is very pleased because his faith is not disturbed, and he continues the process of devotional service in spite of all the material obstacles that come his way. So the devotee, in other words, takes a very humble attitude and doesn't blame it on the Supreme Lord. He says, it's my own karma or whatever like that. Even in spite of it may not be his karma also, but whatever it is, he says he doesn't attribute fault to the Supreme Lord in any case. So that's a sign of his steadiness, and then the Lord becomes very merciful to him, and he advances nicely.
he blamed, instead of blaming Lord Krishna, he blamed Indra for the death of her sons. So even he's a great personality, but he didn't blame Krishna directly, but he blamed his husband.
Yeah. Well, sometimes they may be on a lesser platform. They may do this, or of course it could be Leela also. Sometimes even great devotees will act as if they're normal human beings and react in a similar way. Sometimes, according to the Lord's Yoga Maya.
You think a family situation? You think a family situation, the parents can spark a faith, or does the faith have to come through lifetimes? Can the parents of a child in both or spark faith? Or does that have to be developed through lifetimes?
Well, it can go either way. It can happen through, generally the Agata Sukriti is a slow process because it's accidental, and it may happen once in a lifetime because it's accidental, and you may not meet another devotee accidentally for 2, 5, 10 times lifetimes later or something, and another effect, and like that. So it's kind of unpredictable. So in that sense it's said to be slow development. However, there's also quick development. Some people may have development already, and so they're born and then they very quickly will come into devotional service because they've already developed to a certain degree. Other persons have nothing in this lifetime, but they can also develop very quickly by accidental. If it's powerful enough, then that accidental bhakti will help them. In some cases we think it's not, if a person is born in a devotee family, then it's not really accidental in one sense, because they're there for some particular purpose. So therefore, if they get devotional association there, it's very quick because it's not accidental happening once every lifetime, it's happening every day. So in that sense, they got more opportunity there. So it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. I just asked that question because you may see some families doing everything right by the child that doesn't develop.
Yeah.
And some, a child might, by association, come to the temple, his parents are not devotees.
Yeah, true.
Or something, doesn't seem to have the same influences. But bhakti develops anyway.
So some people probably either not born in devotee families and become devotees on their own, even if that means probably past lifetimes they already had some development and they were just born in that family for some reason. Others may be born in a devotee family, but it's a real struggle to make them do anything because for some reason they got born in a devotee family to give them a chance, but probably they weren't so qualified in other ways, so therefore it may take them a few more lifetimes. But even so, they get some advantage. Maybe this is their Agata Sukriti, just be born in the family becomes an Agata Sukriti for next lifetime, and they'll advance beyond, So probably they did something to get you born in that family, but they may not be very advanced. So therefore it takes a long time for them to develop.
Thank you.
As you mentioned, Paramatma is kind of impartial manifestation. Bhagavan is compassionate towards his devotees, so he is not biased, but at the same time he is inclined to be compassionate to his devotees. And you also mentioned that Lord Chaitanya is merciful even to the
Aparadis.
What about Krishna in the form of Bhagavan? Is he compassionate toward karmic people?
Well, it depends on what you mean by compassion.
As you mentioned, he's impartial towards devotees. What about?
No, he's partial to devotees. He favors devotees. He's sama to everybody else, which means the karmis and whatever. Of course, if they're karmis in the sense of being varnashamic people, we can say there's a little more mercy there than people who are not in the varnashram system who are karmis in the real bad sense of the term. So if you're following, the Vedas at least, and the varnashram system, which is approved by the Vedas, you get a little more mercy there than the other ones, the hopeless ones. So generally it's neutral. It's a Paramatma, and he lets the karma act on them.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, you mentioned that about Vamadev being that some avatars manifesting from Vamadev. What is the importance of Vamadev for this to be the case?
Hard to say because each Manvantara period for 71 yuga cycles, they have one avatar of the Lord who presides for that period of time, like the overseer for everything, because the Lord's not appearing all the time. He appears as Leela avatar once or twice within that period as different forms. But this way, there's a continuity of the Lord's mercy throughout the whole period, somehow or other, as Vamanadev now, and as Yagya and Swayambhuva Manvantara. So we can't criticize the Lord for not being present at all within the universe. He's there. So he's there as Vamanadev, presiding over the 71 yuga cycles.
So of the 10 avatars, they kind of go sequentially in terms of deciding over creation?
Oh no, those are avatars selected by 10 avatars in Jayadev's song. But in Bhagavatam they don't select 10 avatars. They have a list of 22 avatars that come throughout the day of Brahma. So the 10 are just particular avatars. Some are Shaktavesh avatars like Parsaram also, and Buddha, and even Kalki. I suppose Bhaktivinoda Thakur says these get selected in one sense because they represent all species. So we get the fish, we get the turtle, we get the animal, we get the half animal, half human being, then we get the human being, little human being, Vamanadev, then we get the big human being. We get Parsaram, a huge person who's just fighting like that. So we get all sorts of species, so to speak, and among the humans then we get all sorts of varieties also. So he says it's for that purpose that the 10 are selected, to show that variety.
And I'm noticing that Vamanadev is the presiding deity over the planet Jupiter. So, and for example...
Yeah. He's in charge of Jupiter also, yeah.
In charge of Mars. So what's the relationship between the deity and the planet?
Jupiter, I think, because the Jupiter represents expansion, like wealth, children, prosperity, good fortune, and everything like that. So Vamanadev is expanded over the whole universe. Whereas we see Mars is the fighting planet, red planet, blood. And Nrsimhadev is famous for tearing apart Hiranyakasipu and pulling out his intestines. So it's violent.
So it's kind of a matching of qualities?
Yeah. And Venus, of course, is very sweet or whatever, and the sun is very regal, with so we get Ramchandra for that. Moon is very cooling, that's Krishna, soothing.
Both of your classes, you often highlight the fact that bhakti comes only from either the mercy of a devotee or accidental bhakti, right? Accidental.
Yeah, well, Supreme Lord himself in some cases will give bhakti directly, but it's rare.
So is there any specific quote in Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita in which is clearly written that bhakti only comes from either?
In the 11th canto, I think, Bhakti Sanjataya Bhaktya says that. Yeah. Bhakti produces bhakti. Because it's nirguna. And everything else is in the gunas. So in 11th canto, Krishna explains that jnana is in the gunas, sattva gun, and karma yoga is in rajagun. So they cannot produce bhakti because they're in the gunas, and bhakti is nirguna. So something with the gunas cannot produce the nirguna. So only bhakti can produce bhakti.
So which verse is that?
I don't know, you have to look it up, but it's there in 11th canto. Uddhava's teachings, yeah. Okay, Hare Krishna.